Hello, man. Welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's happening, man? I hope you guys are doing great today, man. I know my day is going just fine. Another great day to be alive. You know what I'm saying? It's Friday, dude. What's happening? Check this out, man. Before we get this video podcast started, if you would please join me in a moment of silence, followed by a serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers, and for those of us who are still bound down to some sort of struggle, man, that keeps us from moving forward in this toxic life that we live, man. So yeah, please join me in a moment of silence. God, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. All right. Well, man, check it out, man. I wanted to, I did a little meditation this morning, and something kicked out at me and said that, you know what, I need to talk about this this music therapy that I do. You know what I mean? And that's why I introed this video with a little bit of this guitar. You know what I'm saying? And it's a little bit of, it's one of the things, it's one of the many things that I do in my recovery life, man, in my spirituality, dude. You know what I'm saying? And, music has been involved in a divine connection for thousands and thousands of years. You know what I'm saying? A lot of religions, a lot of spiritual folks, a lot of different cultures use music to connect to their divine energy, to their divine presence. You know what I'm saying? To that energy that guides them in their lives and their spirituality. And I picked up music therapy, and I'm grateful for it because it's allowed me to really, progress in my recovery. It's allowed me to enter new communities and adopt new things. You know what I mean? New ways to deal with a habitual life. You know what I mean? And for me, that was living with the disease of addiction. You know what I mean? And it's one of those things that is a really helpful thing to do. You know what I'm saying? Music therapy, but you have to take that with a grain of salt, in a sense that music therapy or music in general can also be a trigger. You know what I mean? And for a lot of us who are addicts, music always puts us in this, takes us back to this place, takes us back to, these times. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes they're good and sometimes they're bad. But I believe that for the most part, any memory that you have with music, any feeling that you have with music is of good and joyful and loving energy. You know what I mean? And I personally, I grew up with an alcoholic father, an alcoholic and an addict father, and but one of the things that I learned from him and that he taught me was the love of music. You know what I mean? My dad was he was a saxophone player, you know, and I could just imagine how he must have felt when he would play that thing. You know what I mean? It just I was such a little guy when he would pull it out. You know what I mean? Most of the times when he pulled out that sax, he was drunk. You know what I mean? But I know that he had this love for music, and I know this because some of my uncles, you know, would tell me, man, your dad, dude, he used to play when he was like a teenager. He was playing David Brubeck, Take Five. You know what I mean? If you don't know what that is, it's David Brubeck is a jazz musician, and he's a multi-facet musician, but he plays the sax. You know what I mean? And David Brubeck, man, he is a talented jazz musician, and my dad used to mimic his songs, and he would play those songs at a very young age, which to me, when I figured out that him and his older brother, which played the flute, they would competition each other to David Brubeck's song. You know what I mean? And if you ever get a chance to Google, you know, the David Brubeck Take Five song, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And for somebody being a teenager playing that's type of music at that caliber, he's a talented dude, man. You know what I mean? So I know that my dad was really talented, and he had that love, man. He had that love for music, and I understood this. He showed me this through the music that he would listen to, and it was always, you know, when he would get together with one of my uncles, it was always this jazz, soul and R&B soul jazz stuff. You know what I mean? The old Al Green and Marvin Gaye and that sort of thing. You know what I mean? And then incorporate it with a little bit of that of that soul. I mean, of that jazz sax, man. It's just, you know, it's good music. You know what I'm saying? And it stuck with me. You know what I mean? And I'm glad that I was able to experience that. You know what I mean? And so I wanted to talk about, you know, incorporating music therapy into your life of recovery. And it didn't always have to be a life of recovery, man. You can incorporate music therapy into your life to reduce stress, to reduce anxiety, to get just out of a depression. You know what I'm saying? To deal with grief, just different types of things, man. And it's a very helpful tool. You know what I mean? And that's one of the tools it's one of the things that I loaded up into what I call my recovery arsenal. You know what I'm saying? And my recovery arsenal is loaded, and that's one of the tools I have in that recovery arsenal of mine is music, man. And when I'm able to just pull out a guitar and then just start going for it, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's just this way that it resonates with your heart and soul, man. And you know what? I'll pull something up because I wanted to read this to you guys, just so you can kind of get an idea of why, you know, music therapy is helpful and healthy. Okay, and this thing says, music therapy is part of an integrated approach to treatment for addiction. Music therapy for substance abuse or whatever thing that you're addicted to is the use of music and the therapeutic relationship to promote connection to self and motivation to change while learning to navigate life in sobriety. Active music making as well as listening has been shown to activate the dopaminergic pathways in a similar manner as many illicit substances. This response may reduce cravings and improve mood. Music listening also calms the parasympathetic nervous system, which facilitates relaxation and decreased anxiety. And you know what, man? And to me, that is such a beautiful definition, man, because I love the way it mentioned that it releases the dopaminergic pathways, which is basically the thing that chemically happens in your body to release that dopamine when you are addicted to something. That's what it's releasing, so that you seek this joy, this fulfillment. You know what I'm saying? And what better way to do it than with music? You know what I mean? What better way to substitute that addictive behavior with something that is beautiful and of a divine calling, I believe. You know what I'm saying? You know, I mentioned that earlier, that music has been a way for many cultures, many religions, many people, many spiritual people, many just many different facets of the world in culture and religion and that sort of thing, and it you know, you see this thing all the time. You know what I mean? If you go to a church, you go to a Christian church. I know the church that I would attend to here in San Antonio, City Tribe, they first as soon as before the sermon even starts, they're jamming out. You know what I mean? They're calling, man. You know what I'm saying? When I was going, when I would go to when I remember when I was a little guy and going to the Catholic church. Again, you know what I mean? They're singing. You know what I'm saying? They're singing, man. Music's involved. And I know that when I go to the Buddhist temple, they also do chanting. You know what I mean? It's a chant, but it's a musical chant. I know when I go and visit my buddies and my friends out there at the Hare Krishna, the same thing, man. They're chanting the Hare Krishna mantra to drum beats and cymbals, and it's just beautiful. You know what I mean? And I believe that music has a vibrational frequency that the divine understands. You know what I mean? A lot of us think that, you know, I know that for many years, I would just pray. You know what I'm saying? I would pray in a way as if I'm just talking to you, just like this. You know what I mean? That's how I would pray. You know what I mean? And I always thought, man, my prayers ain't getting answered, man. What's happening here? And I always thought, man, you know what? Well, your time's not coming, man. You know what I mean? Your ticket's not up yet, bro. You know, dude upstairs got to take care of a couple more people before he gets to your number. So that's the way I left it. But I continued to pray. You know what I mean? All the meanwhile, the more I started diving into my spirituality and understanding how prayer works and understanding the language, the dialect of the divine energy, lo and behold, it turns out that one of the ways to communicate with that divine energy is through a vibrational mode. And music allows you to do that. That's why when you hear people in these churches and these religions, they're singing their prayers. They're not just talking, they're singing, because that vibrational frequency of that thing that comes from your gut, through your heart and your soul and your everything about you just chants out. That's the vibration that the divine energy hears. You know what I'm saying? And then when you have more than one person doing that, my God, it's just like the illumination in the room is magical. You know what I'm saying? You get these goosebumps. People start crying. It's just, you know, it's an emotional way, but it's beautiful at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And for me personally, in my personal journey, music has done that for me. Music has allowed me to stay in constant contact with that divine energy. You know what I mean? It allowed me to not let that illumination fade off. Because every time, I leave one of the meetings, or I leave a sermon, or I leave, a teaching at the Buddhist temple, whatever I'm involved in for the day, whenever I leave, the illumination starts dying down. And that just happens for everybody. This is just the way life is, you know what I mean? But I believe the key to keeping that illumination going, in other words, to keep that battery that fully 100% charged of that divine connection that you got with the divine energy, is to keep yourself involved and to practice basically what you preach, right? And since I've been incorporating many different things and replacing a lot of the old bad dark habits that I had, or that I still have, you know what I mean? I just keep them dormant, you know what I mean? And allow the divine energy to carry it for me, and I don't have to carry it. And the more I involve myself in these communities and involve myself in this connection with the divine, it keeps me illuminated like this light right here. You know what I'm saying? This is how I feel. See that aura that this light has around it over here? That's how I feel. You know what I mean? That's how I feel when I leave these rooms, when I, play some music. And that was the whole purpose of starting the video out with this. And it just puts you in this mood. You know what I'm saying? It puts you, it fits you right in where you're supposed to be. You know what I mean? That's the beauty of that power that the music has to connect you to something that's beautiful, man. And I know that it has been a very, very, very helpful thing for me in my journey so far, and I'll continue to practice it. You know what I mean? It's one of the things that if it's working, then why get rid of it? You know what I mean? And I'm grateful. I really am grateful that I'm able to do that. And and all it takes is just just a little bit at a time. You know what I mean? And yeah. So I just wanted to just share that with you guys this Friday, and maybe give you something to do on the weekend. You know what I mean? Maybe you go out, hunt you a guitar, hunt you a flute, hunt you a sax, whatever kind of instrument you like, even a drum, man. You know what I mean? It's always good. Any type of instrument will allow you to play some music of good faith, man. Will allow you to communicate with that divine energy in a better sense. Even singing, all you gotta do is hum. Everybody's got a beautiful voice, man. God gave you a voice, and if you can use it like that, why not, right? And it's beautiful, man. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there today and get that message out, man, and know that it's just one. It's just a way. It's just a way, man. It's just a way to try and kick these habitual things that keep us bound down. You know what I'm saying? It's always good to replace some of those bad habits with new good ones. You know what I'm saying? And ultimately, that's what you got to do, right? So, but anyway, yeah, man. So at this time, man, if you would please, man, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell, give me a thumbs up, shoot me a comment, man. Just know, man, when you do hit that subscribe button, it won't cost you a thing, my brothers and sisters. Nothing at all. You know what? You'll be helping out another veteran, another homeless person, another person dealing with PTSDs, childhood traumatic experiences, trauma, drug addiction, alcoholism, depression, anger issues, suicidal thoughts, sadness, grief, all of those things, my friends, because you know what? I've dealt with all those things at one point in time in my life, and guess what, man? I know a way out, and my way out could be your way out. So until the next time on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.